Okay, so if we get started with OneNote, OneNote 2016 has been pre-installed on the Cincinnati Public take-home computers. This is August of 2020 when I'm making these videos. So if we go ahead and open up OneNote, there is some helpful information that OneNote preloads for you. I think there might be one quick pop-up before this screen that I've already dismissed. So you might have an initial pop-up there. You can go ahead and kind of cancel out of that pop-up or read it and answer it appropriately if it applies to you. But if we move on, there is some really cool getting started information right here that I would explore, or I would encourage you to explore. Multiple help videos here. And then on this next one over on the right-hand side, OneNote Basics, again, some really good, useful information. Some of this is going to be covered in my series of videos, but I want to point out that this info is already preloaded. So what I want to spend this video talking about is your basic setup, your sections, section groups, and pages and page groups. So if we go ahead and start off, I would like to create a notebook that is just for school. So it's not somewhere inside of my notebook where I maybe keep track of my job or what's going on with my family or my own personal diary or all the different things that you can create a OneNote notebook for, artwork. So I'm going to start off by saying I would like to add a notebook. And I'm going to give this notebook a name of School 2020-2021. So that tells me that this is my academic year 2021. And I'll create the notebook. Now up at the top we have sections. So this is called New Section 1. And maybe I just want to rename this as General, or like just for school information that doesn't necessarily fit into a particular course. And then maybe I am taking an English, English 10 perhaps, and chemistry, and Spanish 1. And so for each of these sections, I'm just clicking on the plus sign and then I'm renaming it. If I click out and I want to rename it, I can just right click. And so let's see, English, chemistry, Spanish 1, how about American history? And pre-calculus. And maybe we have some good electives in here. Maybe there's a computer science class and some orchestra. I don't know. Or we could add a club or 2 or 3 clubs that we're in, especially if we're helping to manage one of those clubs. But so these are sections, and each of these sections is contained within my school notebook. I can go back to the My Notebook, which has this Quick Notes tab, where OneNote has preloaded some helpful information to help me get started. But I could also create things here like maybe I want to keep track of my summer job. But back to my school notebook. Again, each of these is called sections. And you'll notice as I click on them that over on the right-hand side, this is changing color to go along with my sections. And on the right-hand side, I have pages. So each section contains multiple pages. So let's say that I start off with pre-calculus, and maybe I'm going to title my page. Now I'm going to title it over on the left-hand side here, but it will pull that title on the right-hand side as well. So maybe I decide to call this 1.1 Graphing Utilities. And maybe I set up another page as 1.2 Distance and Midpoint. I'm still getting used to this keyboard. It's not the same one that I normally use because I am using one of these take-home computers in order to make this video. So I apologize for my typos. And then we might have 1.3 Intercepts. Okay, so within each of these pages, I could type information. I can bring in screenshots from the web. I can draw. So maybe I decide that I want to include some useful notes about this, and I'm drawing and I'm labeling, and right now I'm writing using the Lenovo Active Pen. Again, you can use Draw with Touch and either your finger or a universal stylus, but if you use the Active Pen, then it has those cool features, for instance, allowing you to lasso something and resize it or drag it around or copy paste it. Really nice utilities that you don't have when you're working in pencil and paper. There are some built-in shapes here as well that you can use. They may or may not be super helpful, but back to my point, which was pages and sections. So if I'm going through my graphing utilities and I've taken a bunch of notes on this topic and I've had a few examples, maybe we're graphing what this might look like, and we've taken the time, and maybe we've made a t-chart and we've put in a lot of information, I don't know, and we've labeled our graph appropriately, which I haven't, but there we go. That's a good start at least. So we've got a bunch of notes, lots of examples. I'm just kind of trying to fill the page with information. And I decide that this is enough for one page. So I would like to add another page. So if I say add page, then by default, it added it to the bottom of my section, but I can click on this and just drag it up to, there we go, so that it's with my 1-1. So maybe this is going to be 1-1 continued, or maybe it's going to be 1-1, but it's really going to focus on examples, or maybe it's going to be 1-1 homework. And so if I have multiple pages that are all related to the same idea, I would probably want to have them page grouped. And the way that you can make a page group is you just grab, you just click and pull to indent. You can also right click and you can say make subpage. So if I've made something a subpage and I didn't really mean it, so maybe I accidentally made 1-2 a subpage inside 1-1, you can just click and pull it back out, or you can click and say promote subpage, and so that brings it back out. If you are using the subpages like this, if I click on the top one and I say collapse subpages, then that will allow me, I've got this little visual hint that there are a couple of subpages under here, but I just have these really nice titles where now I can go to my 1-2 and my 1-3. If I go back to 1-1 and click on the arrow, I can expand everything that is incorporated within 1-1. Okay, so this is probably the simplest way to set up a school notebook, where you have one notebook for your school year, and then you have a section for each course or club. I would encourage you to have one section for general information because, you know, the calendar year and any info that you get about extracurriculars or clubs or activities, or, you know, all the extra stuff that ends up on a student body page that doesn't really apply to English or to chemistry. You might want to have a nice place to keep that stuff organized. So using pages and page groups along with sections can be a really good way to do it. If you get to the point where it seems like, okay, now I have hundreds of pages down here, and even when I collapse my sub pages or my page groups, I would really rather have one more level of organization, right? Because the way that sections, pages, and page groups work right now, it's like each page group is like a folder of multiple pages, and each section can have multiple folders of page groups. Well, we can also put our sections in their own section groups. So as you're going through this, if you determine, you know what, really I would rather have like a whole tab for just chapter 1 in pre-calculus, or maybe first quarter, or maybe a particular novel, whatever organization structure seems to make sense. So if I take my pre-calculus tab and I decide that I want to make a new section group instead, and I can either click right on here, or I can right click over here. Come on. There we go. So on my pre-cal tab is where it ended up working for me. So I can say new section group, and I'm going to call this pre-calculus, which is a little silly right now, but I'm going to fix it. So if I take my pre-calculus tab and drag it into my pre-calculus group, so this little up arrow takes me back where I was. Okay, then now maybe really what I want this group to be, I'm going to rename it so that it's first quarter, or chapter 1, or novel 1, and the title of the book. Again, whatever makes sense for your organization. So maybe I say chapter 1. And then maybe I have another section in here that is chapter 2. Another one that's chapter 3. Oops. Sorry for the bumping around. I'm hitting things where they would be on my own personal computer. Sorry about that. Chapter 3. Okay, that's enough. The idea here, again, so chapter 1 brought with me my page groups, which again I can collapse to kind of make my my navigation a little bit easier. as well as multiple pages. So my 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 examples are all in chapter 1. And then I have a place to create chapter 2 and a place to create chapter 3. And all of those are inside my pre-calculus group. So again, we could have my notebook, which is what is automatically preloaded. I've created a school 2020-21, and each of these is a section. Okay, I might decide to make that a section isn't enough, that I want one more level of detail. So I can say new section group. And then instead of using my American history section, I can put it in the section group. And perhaps what is appropriate here is to do something like first quarter and maybe AP prep. Maybe I'm going to have materials that are focused together that are to help me study for my AP exam. Again, I accidentally titled the page instead of the section, but second quarter. And each of these can be drug around. So you can change the order. It's really simple to drag and drop. It would help if I could rename this correctly. Second quarter. There we go. Okay, that is enough of that. Hopefully you get the idea. If you want to take sections out of a section group, you can click on move and copy. So if you drag the wrong one in and now, oh no, chemistry is inside history, you can just say move and you'll get this nice expansion of your file structure. And you can say, okay, I don't want this in American history anymore. I want it back out here just in my general notebook. So now see that first quarter tab, I just moved it back out. But again, it really did belong inside American history. So there's a lot of relatively easy drag and drop here. And again, those are sections, section groups, and pages and page groups. So important steps in setting up your OneNote notebook. Section groups, pages, page groups.